that is becoming a thorn on the side for these globalists.
The hierarchy in Rome destroyed the faith of a lot of adherents.
You can't even have a debate now, because the moment you're on the wrong side, you're cancelled.
We've come to an apocalyptic state.
Hey, you people that are half asleep, wake up.
And if this war wasn't there, we would have all been chipped.
Bishop Williamson, yeah, I mean, there's been some, historic sort of roller coaster reports from him. He's, at one point he's very, very kind of traditionalist, scathing of what's going on in the church, in the Novus Ordo Church. On the other hand, he comes across as hinting as though he's defending some things in the Novus Ordo. And then now we see him talking about who the real evil is, and very pro-Russian kind of conversation in his, what was that, a sermon was it that he was giving, I think?
Yeah, he was in Poland.
And amongst the heads of state, there is only one who is standing up to the forces of evil. It's Vladimir Putin, who may be no angel and no saint, but nevertheless he is a man of intelligence and great courage. He has the means of standing up to the one world government. God does not want a godless one world government, but do not love Poland going along with the rest of corrupt Europe.
Actually, I took it as a warning to Poland, because Poland's doing some stupid things like planning to bring in so-called peacekeepers into Ukraine. So this is going to be a disaster for Poland, because
So what was he saying?
If you read between the lines, he referred to the two Polish women and how they think that Vladimir Putin is now a person who's working against the evil of the New World Order, if you like. And so he was trying to hint that all those old animosities between the Polish people and the Russian people should be set aside, because there's only one person right now who's fighting against the New World Order, and that's Vladimir Putin.
So what's the deal with Bishop Williamson? I mean, where is his stance? What do we know about where his stance is specifically?
He was SSPX until the SSPX got rid of him. He's essentially a person who follows the heart of the SSPX. He doesn't believe that the seat is vacant. He doesn't believe that, and he says that essentially whoever's Pope right now is Pope.
Yeah. So we have a bad Pope according to him at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they're just recognize and resist crowd, which is not a good thing as far as I'm concerned, because if you recognize that somebody's Pope, then you got to really obey him. There's been a few...
That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a look at the teachings of the popes, they're saying that you have to, especially Pope Leo XIII, can't remember the encyclical, but he was saying that you have to obey a pope. You can't just change your mind.
Salvation is dependent on your adherence to the pontiff, Roman pontiff.
Yeah, that's
simple
right.
as that.
There's a lot.
So how does recognize and resist work? I mean, that's just completely contradictory.
Yeah, you can't recognize that somebody's a pope and then try to resist them.
Or are they saying recognize that they are erring and then resist based on that recognition of that?
Well, if a so-called pope is erring in the area
and erring loosely, not heresy, because they don't like to say, "Oh, the pope's being a heretic."
Well, I mean, if the pope is teaching heresy, you can easily tell, because Bergoglio right now, well, even that is contradictory. I can't even say that the Pope is teaching heresy.
I mean, there's so many things. There's so many things wrong with that.
Yeah, that does not happen. That don't happen. Popes don't teach heresy.
Well, Taylor Marshall was using the heresy word very liberally recently, and many of them turned against him. They didn't like it.
They would, because it's a very emotional subject for many people. Many people think that if you abandon this Pope Bergoglio, you're abandoning the so-called church.
Yes.
And they don't recognize, I mean, they talk about being recognized experts, but they don't recognize that this is not the church. This is a false church, a faux church. It's a place where teachings of the Catholic Church of the past 2,000 years are shoved down into the dustbin of history as far as this institution or this sect is concerned. So they can't see it, and that's why they become emotional about it.
So back to Bishop Williamson. You know, the problem with all this is that, you know, his views on Russia and Putin, this just all creates more and more division, doesn't it? That's the issue right now we have. You know, we can't get away from division because that single authority, and this, by the way, should be a sign that there's a problem with the Novus Ordo hierarchy right now and the Pope. This is a clear signal and sign that there's a problem there because of so much division. Even traditionalist division.
Yeah.
You know, one traditionalist will say no A, the other one will say no B. But they're both aligned on many, many other things. So much division. And this Bishop Williamson coming out saying, you know, this is the real evil, whether it's true or not, it's just a cause for more segregation and more division, isn't it? That's the issue.
It's supposed to be one holy Catholic Apostolic Church.
Yes, exactly.
And so when you have no unity, you don't really have the trappings of having an institution which you can then label the church. At the moment, the church exists, of course, but it's in various little pockets here and there. The institution that you see in the form of Vatican is not the church. It's just an institution, another sect, just like Anglicanism, the divorced church, just like all the other churches, the uniting church, whatever you have. So this is what the problem is. There's no unity.
No.
And there have been many people that I've spoken to that have been trying very hard to create this aura of unity, which is not going to happen because you don't have a pope at the top who will unify people.
Yes, exactly.
There's no unity. There's no two people that can see eye to eye anymore.
There
so
isn't.
you can't really act as like one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church.
But it seems like the more we continue along this path, the more division, because something will happen, some current event that people will have a view on, and that will create camps, and then there'll be sub-camps, and then the next event will come along, and then some bishop over here, or some priest over there, or some cardinal over here will make some comments, and then there'll be more camps created. Oh yes, I'm with him on this, and no, I'm not. I'm with him on that. And no, I go on to this side with that. I disagree with that. So it just sounds like this division is just exacerbated by each one of these views that's expressed in the media that we see.
For the record,
I mean, where does that end? I mean, that's where I'm trying to get to.
Ends when there's a pope. This division is a symptom of a problem. It's not the problem. The problem is something much deeper that most people, especially those in the recognize and resist crowd, don't seem to understand.
Yeah.
The pope is not there, therefore division. It's simple as that.
It is very simple.
And for the record, I believe that Bishop Williamson has it right when it comes to the issue of Ukraine and...
well, he's got courage, that's for sure. I mean, he's really the only one talking like that at the moment, isn't he?
Right.
I don't see very many others that are stepping up and boldly talking about their view on what's happening in Eastern Europe right now. There's nobody talking about that. Yeah. I mean, there's many millions talking about it, but they're obviously the woke mob. So yeah, it's very, very interesting that he has found that in his sermon and has actually spoken about it. Very, very interesting.
I really think that people don't understand how dangerous this whole situation was before the war, because
it's been building up.
Oh, because the people say, oh, the war is dangerous, it could turn into a world war. Well, what Bishop Williamson was saying is that the war is, in a way, a good thing, if you can put it that way, because it's a moral war. The war is at least about the stoppage of the New World Order, people like the Troika, the European Union, the European Central Bank, the IMF, the World Bank, all those people having complete and utter control over places like Russia.
Yeah.
And that's what he's saying, which is important.
Isn't the M4 up there?
Yeah, sorry, what were you going to do? Go to M4, lad?
Yeah, I'm taking you home. Anyway, I trusted you. You let me down.
Alright, I lost my train of thought. Just imagine if this war wasn't there, we would all be chipped and we'd all be controlled by these people. But because of this war, this may not happen.
Well, it's God at work, isn't he? He's at work. Now, whether he will slow it down or whether he'll prevent it, we're not sure. But he's definitely behind what is happening in Eastern Europe at the moment. And that is becoming a thorn on the side for these globalists. A big thorn on the side.
Absolutely. They thought that they could control Russia. They knew that Russia would have to do something at some point, military, technical, whatever they call it. They thought that they could control it, but they cannot control this.
No.
It's out of their hands.
No, and it's come too far now to just simply walk away. Russia's just not simply going to now walk away, right? They're not going to retreat. There's not going to be some diplomatic agreement now. It's too far down the track for that to happen. Okay, so back to Bishop Williamson.
Yeah.
What's he getting at here? Is he just kind of, hey, you people that are half asleep, wake up.
Yeah, and
Get to see the real story here. You need to be thinking about it this way, right?
He was specifically doing that to the Polish people because there's a historical animosity that Polish people have towards Russia because of the wars that they've been involved in with the Russians, especially after the Soviet Union and the days of the communists.
Yeah.
So some of the people in Poland just can't get off of that train. Whether you're on the liberal side, the neoliberal side, the left, the right, whatever you are in Poland,
Yeah.
you seem to hate Russians. So he was basically in Poland, in Warsaw I think he was. This was 15 May 2022, and he was saying to them that, look, you got to be careful because what you're doing right now is cooperating with the devil. You're cooperating with the deep state. The deep state is the devil, it's run by the devil, and you got to be very careful because they could tempt you to do things that will end up destroying Poland, and quite literally destroying Poland. So that's why he was there and he was talking about that. And
Yeah, good on him. You know what? Good on him.
I fully agree with him when it comes to this.
He's, you know, every now and then God will send a voice and that voice will just resonate.
Yeah.
And I hope this voice of his is resonating with people right now. And people are actually, those that aren't aware of some of what's really actually happening in Eastern Europe, are hearing this. They follow Bishop Williamson, they respect him, they like him, they're hearing this and they're like, I think I'm seeing more to the story than I knew before. I really hope that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think apart from that, really, we can just only continue being optimistic and prayerful. And if these are more serious and sinister times than we thought, then God's will be done. Simple as that.
These are very serious times. Somebody did a sort of a video of the last 3 years and put all the bad things together, and when you look at it, you can see that it was, if you looked at that in any normal circumstances, you would say that this is a science fiction sort of a scenario. This is not true.
Yeah.
Especially with the latest disease coming along, and you know, it's just becoming very interesting and apocalyptic in various ways. And we were all expecting that because of what's happened to the church, because of the destruction of the faith of many, starting from the very top, because of the fact that the hierarchy in Rome destroyed the faith of a lot of adherents and the laity. And the church is now very small. So we've come to an apocalyptic stage.
Well, it would definitely seem that way. I think the difference, I mean, every generation has drawn conclusions about this being their time, being the end of the world, and they kind of have a list of stuff that is all, you know, corroborates that whole story about the end. But the difference this generation has is the introduction of the Novus Ordo in 1960s, the implementation of the changes, and the hierarchical hijack of the Catholic hierarchy. That's the difference this time around. We've not had that before.
Yeah, some people will say that that's a great apostasy spoken
Yes,
of in
correct.
2 Thessalonians too. So
that is a great, very, very weighty corroborator, that in itself.
it is. And also, I mean, you've got other things like, as we said before, I think we've mentioned it at some point, the fact that the gospel has been preached throughout the world ever since the time of Pius XI.
Yes.
We've had some of those things come true, so we are now at a time which is very, very important for everybody.
It is.
To be in a state of grace, to pray and to say the rosary.
Yeah, this is uncharted territory
Yeah,
right now, isn't it?
that's right, it is.
It is uncharted territory.
It is uncharted territory. We haven't been in this place before. The world hasn't been as global as this, probably not since the days of Nimrod.
And so much corruption. Unbelievable amount of corruption.
In every way.
You know, you have doubt about anything now. And I don't know, even 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, you could have a debate. You can't even have a debate now, because the moment you're on the wrong side, you're cancelled.
Yeah.
So that whole, the logic, argument, debate, all that is out the window.
There's no more debate.
And that tells you that we're at an extremely intense degree of corruption. I mean, people have their doubts about, you know, their next election, whether that's legitimate or not. You doubt everything. You begin doubting everything. You see what's going on and you say, someone's behind this. This I don't believe this happened. Someone's behind it. And if you're at that level, you're most certainly in a very dire scenario in the world. You are. Most certainly.
In the
And that cannot be sustained for very long. Anyway, God be with us, and good on Bishop Williamson for speaking out. I really, really enjoyed hearing him talk. Actually, there's a fuller version, I think. Maybe we can link to it.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Dear friends, always judge from the standpoint of God. The apparently frightening events coming in the world are not so frightening in the eyes of God. May God be with you, my dear friend, and may God protect you, and may He, through His mother, bring all of you safely to heaven. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen.